Hi, I'm Avery Davidson. Thank you for joining us for This Week in Louisiana Agriculture, the only TV show bringing Louisiana farmers and consumers together every week. My partner, Kristen Oaks-White, will join us in just a few minutes. The northeast corner of Louisiana produces 53% of our state's total acreage of soybeans, cotton, and corn. If the tariffs China proposes become a reality, it would hit farmers in that area especially hard, along with the rest of the Louisiana agriculture. Twila's Tammy Arender speaks with a grower in Richland Parish who says this trade war talk between China and the U.S. is making him nervous.
All I've done my whole life, since I was a little boy, I've loved being here.
Dustin Morris has been farming full-time since he was 18 years old. He says to hear that China could slap a 25% tariff on his corn, soybeans, and cotton has him a bit nervous.
It's a very nerve-wracking time, and it's an exciting time, but at the same time, we're just very volatile right now. It does cause some sleepless nights.
Morris and his crew have already planted most of his corn crop. He's waiting for the ground to dry before he starts planting his soybeans. Even though the soybean seed isn't in the ground, he says it's still too late to change to another crop.
We have no clue as to how much it can impact our bottom line, but it would be substantial. When you start talking about a 25% tariff on soybeans, and we are, the world's largest exporter to China at the time, that's a problem for us, and it will be immediate, and it'll be big.
Louisiana Commissioner of Agriculture and Forestry Mike Strain says if China follows through on the threat, it would be a huge financial blow, not just to local farmers, but U.S. ag as a whole.
A 25% tariff could drop our sales 50 to 60%. Cost? $3 billion in American agricultural products.
Right now, I hope it's just a lot of rhetoric. The president knows how to negotiate. He is a negotiator. So I have faith in his ability to bring everybody to the table, get us a better trade deal with China and other nations, and get this thing behind us.
Bobby Skeen visits with Dustin Morris on his farm. Skeen is the executive vice president of the Louisiana Cotton and Grain Association.
Diversified farmers. We all grow diversified crops. No one farmer is growing 100% of anything hardly anymore, and much less in our state of the country. We're all the victim at the end of the day.
Everything's left up to the politicians that hopefully they'll make the right decisions. All we can do is hope that they have a broader view than what we have of the situation, and hope that we're not just a pawn in the game that gets hurt along the way.
The U.S. bought more than $500 billion in goods from China last year. Talk has cooled down a bit since the initial blow-up. However, soybeans alone lost 5% of their value in a single day of trading when China proposed its tariffs. American Farm Bureau President Zippy Duvall issued a statement asking for an end to the tariffs race. You can read the entire statement on our website at twilatv.org. With so much attention on trade, there's another national issue farmers and ranchers are watching closely. The current farm bill expires in September, so now is the time to pass a new farm bill. As Twila's Carl Wigger shows us, that was one of the main topics when Louisiana Farm Bureau Young Farmers and Ranchers visited Capitol Hill.
The U.S. Capitol is a great place for family vacation. The sights, the history, there's no shortage of things to see. But these young farmers are here to work. The job is to let their congressmen know how the policy that they make in D.C. affects farmers back in Louisiana.
They're people just like us, after you get in and kind of get the nervous jitters out, you can have a conversation with them and let them know what's going on, what's important to us.
One thing that every congressman heard from the young farmers like Matthew Gravois, the Louisiana Farm Bureau YF&R chair, is the necessity of passing a new farm bill this year.
It is important for us to have a farm bill passed because it provides us with a safety net to be able to farm.
District 5 Congressman Ralph Abraham sits on the House Ag Committee. He feels good about the progress they've made so far on the new Farm Bill.
On the Farm Bill, we're a little bit ahead of schedule, which is unheard of in this part of the woods, so I'm very excited about that. Hopefully we will get this thing out of committee very soon.
Louisiana Farm Bureau Director of National Affairs Kyle McCann says that we're starting to see progress slow down because of the food and nutrition portion of the new Farm Bill.
Politically, the way things fall out in D.C., that could push things off and cause there to be even a further delay in the Farm Bill development.
That's because nutrition accounts for 80% of the 2014 Farm Bill. McCann and Abraham both are pleased that Louisiana commodities hurt by the previous bill now have better coverage in this upcoming Farm Bill.
Before even starting the congressional debate on this Farm Bill, we knew we needed to fix the dairy program and the cotton program.
They were somewhat left out of the 2014. They're being brought back in with their help. It's going to be good for them. We've got all the players that are critical that will be taken care of in the Farm Bill.
I know there are a lot of farmers in Louisiana that will be happy to see those changes to this Farm Bill. Today, House Ag Committee Chairman Mike Conaway released a video discussing the importance of getting the SNAP policy right for those families that depend so heavily on the program every day. I'll post a link to that video on our Facebook page if you'd like to check that out. And Avery, I've got to say, it's really a fun trip to go on to D.C. I love D.C. at first, but to go and follow the young farmers into those offices where they're meeting face-to-face with their representatives. And what's really neat about that trip is a lot of the issues that were discussed aside from Farm Bill. Farm Bill is on the front of everyone's mind, but CERCLA, electronic logging devices, those different issues that these farmers brought to their representatives, they've already been addressed since that trip. So it's really a cool thing to see what we've talked about and then the action that happened following that.
It's amazing how just going and meeting with your congressman, your senator, your representative can really shape what they say and what they do. But I will make note, you had Congressman Ralph Abraham in your story. Did he say anything about running for governor?
I asked him. I told him, I said, Doc, I'm turning my camera off. Can you tell me anything about the governor? He said, I'm honored to still be asked. So he didn't give me an answer. Well, I guess we'll find out soon enough.
I'm sure we will. Thank you very much, Carl Wiggers. The average American eats nearly 56 pounds of beef in a year, according to the market research firm Packaged Facts. That means to keep up with the growing demand for beef, the men and women who raise cattle must find ways to do it more efficiently. That's why part of the recent Louisiana Farm Bureau Livestock Advisory Committee's beef tour focused on research. This is the sale barn at the Oklahoma National Stockyards. It is the world's largest stocker and feeder cattle market, and one of the favorite stops for those on the Louisiana Farm Bureau Livestock Advisory Committee beef tour. This is where they see the value they've raised in their cattle. Livestock Advisory Committee Chairman Marty Woldridge says this is a good place for those on the tour to see the entire landscape of the cattle industry.
We're showing them things that is anything and everything about the cattle industry in this state, so that it's getting them to think about a new idea or what makes Oklahoma a cattle industry what it is.
That's what this facility is set up for.
At the Noble Research Institute in Ardmore, Oklahoma, these farmers and ranchers learn about the Integrity Beef Program.
We wanted to take something where we implemented all the best management practices that were available in the industry and be able to help a producer ultimately at the end of the day make a bigger profit.
Robert Wells is a livestock consultant with the Noble Research Institute. He makes it very clear that profitability for those who raise cattle is good for the consumer.
We view it as a win-win relationship.
It's telling people, buyers, that producers are doing these things that it's expected of them from terms of a genetic selection, a breeding program, to a herd health program, to a backgrounding program. How they are developed and how they are raised. All producers have to be BQA certified, and so it's educating these Louisiana producers just on that program and that there's opportunities out there.
Watching what the Noble Institute did, some of the research they're conducting, that's so relative to farms like our own in terms of soil nutrients and herd health management and the efficiencies that, frankly, after the past 2 winters, we've been striving to improve.
If Ryan Walker looks familiar, you've seen him here on Twila before. Walker used to conduct cattle research at the LSU Ag Center Hill Farm Research Station in Homer. His role is a little different now. He's working more on the extension side than research, but says it's an interesting new challenge in his career. A cold winter meant a slow start to this year's crawfish season, but warmer weather has spurred both growth and the number of crawfish being caught. Craig Gautreaux says the season is now in full swing.
Snow in December and record cold temperatures in January put a chill on the beginning of Louisiana's crawfish season. While the cold weather did not reduce the population, it kept crawfish from feeding and reaching market size.
Crawfish did not grow during December, January, so they missed probably 3 or 4, maybe 5 molts. So a lot of crawfish just now are getting to a good medium size.
With warmer weather and increasing water temperatures, more crawfish are on the market and the quality is improving.
We've been very fortunate. Our catch has been pretty consistent. With the warmer weather that we've had the past couple weeks, the catch has really increased. The size is getting very good.
Peak demand for crawfish is typically during the Lenten season. With demand expected to drop and supply increasing, consumers could soon see a break in the cost. And they also get a fresh product.
Now that the huge demand for crawfish is over with Lent, the price should come down a little bit. We'll catch it today and it'll be in buyers' hands by this afternoon, in some restaurants tonight, and if others tomorrow morning.
Most of the state's crawfish production comes from ponds that were rice fields harvested last summer. Crawfish acreage has dramatically increased in recent years and is expected to be around 250,000 acres this year.
Because rice prices were down, a lot of rice farmers have diversified and put in more acres of crawfish. So that's really the reason why we've seen an increase in acres for the last 5 or 6 years.
When pond production begins to decrease in May, wild-caught crawfish from the Atchafalaya Basin will help make up the difference. With the LSU Ag Center, this is Craig Gautreaux reporting.
If you still haven't gotten your crawfish fix yet this season, don't worry. Experts at LSU are saying the season should extend well into June. And speaking of which, let's take a look at some of the prices for crawfish from around the state. Prices have significantly dropped since we last reported to you. In most cases, more than $1 a pound. We found one of the best deals in the state at the French Market in Hammond, where boiled crawfish are down to $2.25 per pound. Live crawfish are 50 cents cheaper at $1.75. Down south in Abbeville, you can find them at the Crawfish Tub for $3.50 a pound boiled, where live crawfish $2 cheaper at $1.50 even. Up in North Louisiana, Ben's Christmas Crawfish in Ruston is also $3.50 for boiled bugs. Live crawfish are $1.25 cheaper at $2.25 for live. You know they're getting a lot more plentiful in the state when both Abbeville and Ruston have the same price for boiled crawfish. Coming up after the break, Kristen Oakes White joins us for a new segment straight from her backyard. The inaugural Blooming on the Bayou is next.
I now hope they're fighting today.
I hope they are. Put a Dorito right here.
I got a fish! I got a fish!
Find your place in the country and the lender who can get you there. Find Louisiana Land Bank. Financing for country homes, recreational property, farms and ranches, and agribusiness.
Farming is my way of life. I chose this career, but farming chose me.
A lot of people ask you what you do, and I tell them I'm a farmer.
I'm a cattleman.
I am a fisherman.
I'm a scientist.
I'm a steward of the land.
I am a farm woman.
I am Farm Bureau.
I am Farm Bureau.
I am Farm Bureau.
I am Farm Bureau.
I'm a Farm Bureau.
Before you sweeten your morning joe, before the icing on the cake, before the sugar hits the shelf, it begins with a family of sugarcane farmers dedicated to growing Louisiana for more than 220 years. The Sugarcane Growers of Louisiana, making life sweeter, naturally.
Sugarcane, sweet sugarcane.
Louisiana oysters, salty, sweet, and delicious. But have you ever thought about what happens to all those oyster shells? Most of them end up in trash cans and landfills. The Coalition to Restore Coastal Louisiana is changing this with its oyster shell recycling program, and you can help by visiting these participating restaurants. It's a simple and delicious way to restore our coast. The shells will then be used to sustain and rebuild oyster reefs. Remember, once you shuck them, don't just chuck them.
Have you ever heard the old wives' tale, thunder in February, frost in April? Some people believe that if there is any thunder in February, it will guarantee a frost in April. Sure, old sayings may be superstitious, but many farmers and gardeners swear by this one when it comes to planting crops in the spring. And after our recent April cold snaps, there may be some truth to this. This week, we're kicking off a brand new gardening series, Blooming on the Bayou, where Kristen Oaks White shows us some easy tips and tricks to grow your own fruits and vegetables at home.
Hey y'all, welcome to my backyard, where this week we're kicking off a brand new segment called Blooming on the Bayou, where we're going to talk about everything from vegetable gardening to landscaping and flowers and everything in between. And the idea for this segment sprouted a few years ago when my husband and I purchased our very first home. And before that, I never really had an interest or a desire to work in the yard. But we had a little bit of land and I had a little bit of spare time to where we did some landscaping on the side of the house. We started a small vegetable garden and the passion grew from there. Now I truly understand why farmers and ranchers love their job so much, because there's nothing that's more rewarding than planting a seed in the ground, working hard all year, and then harvesting a crop a few months later. Now the goal of this segment is to prove that no one truly has a black thumb. Anyone can learn to plant a small vegetable garden or flowers to beautify your yard. And this week we're going to be talking about growing that spring and summer vegetable garden. Easter has come and gone, and now is the optimal time to plant your garden. So let's get started. Okay, so let's get to work on our vegetable garden. We're here in my backyard, and I just want you to know that you don't have to have a lot of space to build a good vegetable garden to feed your family. Our bed size is about 10 feet to 60 feet wide. If you don't have access to cross size, you can go to your local hardware store or Home Depot or Lowe's and get 2x4s where you can build a raised garden that way. We put some plans for how exactly you can do that on our website, so anybody can literally grow fruits and vegetables with just a little bit of space. So do you want to know the secret ingredient to a beautiful, productive garden? It's great soil. Plants thrive when they have the perfect ingredients to sink their roots into. And there's an old garden adage that goes, you can't put a $10 plant into $2 soil. So investing your time and yes, a little bit of money into your soil will make a world of difference when it comes harvest time. So one of the most important ingredients in great soil is air quality. You want loose, fertile soil. The correct consistency of a good soil for garden is that of moist chocolate cake. This soil is a little dense, so the first thing that we're going to do today is till it up. It's kind of like holding on to a horse. So the next ingredient that we want to add to have the perfect soil for our vegetable garden is organic matter. Now organic matter only makes up about 5 to 10% of your actual soil composure, but it's arguably one of the most important. Organic matter helps to hold moisture and nutrients so that the plants can pick up all of those elements that you need to grow big, beautiful plants. My favorite thing to add when it comes to organic matter is cow manure, and it's a cow manure compost. And of course, when I chose my cow manure at the store, I picked the Black Cow brand because that's the best cow there is. You don't need a lot of this. A little bit goes a long way. We're going to till through this one more time. So now that we have the cow manure tilled into the soil, I'm going to take the rake and just go along it and make a nice level bed so that we can put our plants in it. Whoa, So now this step is done, and I think I got my steps in for the day. We're gonna move on to the next step in the process, and that's putting the plants in the ground. So we're gonna take a short commercial break, but when we come back, we'll show you exactly what you all came here to see, and that's getting the vegetables into the ground. Stay with us.
Landowners are minding the Louisiana forest for our grandchildren. A place for wildlife, recreation, lumber for homes. It's the right thing to do. Forestry, covering half our state, all of our hearts.
This is the moment I knew his future had no boundaries.
There are some moments only the forest can inspire. Find yours at discovertheforest.org.
It's Ag Magic time at the LSU Ag Center. Bring the family for a fun, educational adventure through the world of Louisiana agriculture. See eggs hatch, pet a pig. See alligators, busy bugs, and butterflies. Learn how your food gets from the farm to the table. It's more than magic, it's Ag Magic. Free family fun, April 21st and 22nd at Parker Coliseum, Highland Road at LSU. Visit lsuagcenter.com/agmagic.
I am a giant panda bear, loving bamboo. I almost went extinct, but I'm not because of you. I am a grouse when I almost was too. If it wasn't for the help of the San Diego Zoo. How about you join us? Save it as our tortoise. We need your help to bring species back, so bring us back from the brink of extinction. Bring us back from the brink of extinction. I am a bring us back from the brink of extinction. California, bring us back from the brink of extinction. And desert tortoise.
Now that we're back, it's time to do the fun part of the process, and that's actually putting the plants in the ground. But before you put the plants in the ground, you need to take a little time to plan, and that's where a garden planning app or website can really be beneficial. There's lots of links online. We put some on our website where you can follow. You can actually map out your exact dimensions of your garden and put what you're going to plant where. So this year I'm going to grow something that I haven't grown in the past, and that's spaghetti squash. So we're going to start this row with our spaghetti squash. So I'm going to take my trowel and dig just a hole a little bit wider and about the same depth as the container that the plant's in. One thing that I like to add to all of the plants that I put in the garden is Osmocote, and it's a slow release fertilizer. A small handful of this will last you the entire growing season. And then we're going to get our plant out. And we're going to put that little guy in the ground just like that. Now that we've put our squash in the ground, I'm going to move on to one of my favorite plants that I plant every year, and that's peppers. And peppers are a good companion plant for tomatoes. They require the same type of soil, and one of my favorite peppers to grow is the jalapeno pepper. One important thing to remember when you're putting any of these plants into the ground is to plant only the amount that you and your family will eat. And that's just something that comes with trial and error, figuring out which plants produce how many plants every year. But I'm going to go ahead and tell you that a jalapeno plant produces a lot of good peppers. Now fast forward in the planting process, we've planted our peppers, we've planted our cucumbers, our squash, our zucchini, but I'm going to give you the secret recipe to planting and growing the most amazing tomato. The first thing I start with is a great tomato plant. There's a million different varieties of tomatoes, but you kind of have to find what works for you and what fits your taste. I've always found that I love the Better Bush tomato. So it's a compact, nice plant, and it produces a great sized fruit, and it tastes good too, which is what we all care about at the end of the day. So the first thing that we're gonna do when we talk about our secret recipe, eggshells are a great component when it comes to growing a good tomato. Eggshells add a calcium boost to your tomato plants. Calcium is something that tomatoes are often deficient in, and calcium helps to ward off a lot of fungal issues, blight, that eggshells help to resolve. So that's the first thing that we're going to put in our hole. The next thing is a few tablespoons of Epsom salt. Epsom salt is rich in magnesium. One key factor when you're putting the Epsom salt in, you need to cover it with another layer of dirt, because you don't really want that Epsom salt directly touching the roots, because that can burn them. It won't kill your plant, but it certainly doesn't help it when it's trying to set that good strong root base. The next part of our recipe is bone meal. Bone meal is rich in phosphorus, and adding a few tablespoons of that will help your plant set blossom and bigger fruit. So we're going to sprinkle that in there, get it all good and mixed up. And our final ingredient, aspirin. Okay, so we're going to add 1 or 2 aspirin tablets into the hole. Now what aspirin does is it's rich in salic acid, and the salic acid helps to ward off diseases and blight, and it can also help you increase the yield. So all of these things are going to work together to produce, hopefully, a very fruitful and prosperous tomato plant. Now that we've got most of our vegetable plants in the ground, we're going to finish off with our last and final companion plant, and that is the marigold flower. And these little jokers are one of the best weapons when it comes to warding off pests. They've got a really strong smell to them, and most bugs cannot stand the smell of marigolds. So what I do is plant a marigold in between just about every single one of the vegetable plants that I've got out here. Now we're ready for the final step in our day-long vegetable garden planting process, and that's giving our new plants a little drink of water. Woo! It has been a long, tiring, hot day of working in the garden. So for now, I'm going to sit down, enjoy my glass of lemonade, and look at all the beautiful plants that I've planted and wait for them to blossom into some wonderful vegetables this summer. If you like some of the ideas that I've shared with you today, or you've tried them, send us your pictures and give us your comments online on Facebook or Instagram, and share your picture using the hashtag BayouBlooms. Or if you have questions that you would like for us to answer in future segments, you can always submit them on Facebook or online at twilatv.org. Next time we'll bring you an update on how the garden's doing, and hopefully we'll have some little tiny blooms to show you. Until then, I hope this segment has inspired you to get out in your own garden and enjoy this beautiful weather and exercise your green thumb to bring some of those blooms to your bayou.
It's always great seeing Kristen in her own element. Thank you, Kristen Oaks-White. Before we leave, we want to remind you about the annual Ag Magic event at the Parker Coliseum in Baton Rouge. That's over on LSU's campus. It's April 16th through the 22nd. It's a great educational opportunity geared toward children and their families. The event is free and put on by the LSU Ag Center, the Southern University Ag Center, and 4-H. Ag Magic caters to school groups as well as individuals. It's only school groups from the 16th to the 20th, so you'll have to register your group online. I like to take Luke and Logan to Ag Magic every year, and let me give you a little inside scoop. Literal scoop. Literally, this is inside scoop. You can order ice cream from the dairy store on campus and pick it up while you're there at Ag Magic. And LSU Ag Center ice cream is some of the best. For all of the details on Ag Magic, you can find them online. We'll link you on our website at twilatv.org. And true story, Luke Davidson licked by a cow at Ag Magic. Well, that does it for this edition of Twila. Be sure to join us next week when we'll show you how sugarcane farmers are using cover crops to sweeten their soil. Until then, you can watch all of our stories online at twilatv.org, and be sure to like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram. For all of us here at Twila, thank you for joining us. We hope to see you again right here next week.